Good afternoon. I'm back in the van and I'm going to do a little update on the vlog I did about a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, when I fitted the eberspacher D2 night heater. Just to let you know how it's gone on. I did say that I'd do a little quick update on it when I did that vlog, just to let you know how it's been running. Now, our first night of using the heater, it was a bit of a nightmare of it being on and off quite a lot. So I think what it is the air goes in at the front of the driver's seat by the footwell, and the air down there is quite cold. And when we're in it at night, we've got the curtains, which kind of separates a lot of the heat between the front and the back. And obviously the heat comes out from that heater into the back of the van. So it's getting quite warm back here, but the heater didn't really know it because the temperature sensor that lets the heater know how hot the van is where the air comes in. And the air was coming in from the front of the van, which was quite cold, and it was quite hot back here. So it didn't really work that well. What I did in the end is I directed the flow slightly so that some of the heat went under the seat, so that it could pick up that temperature. That was better because rather than the fan running well too fast and being really too noisy, it meant that it would kind of quiet down. But the problem is, because it suddenly got too hot down there, it suddenly cut right down, and it obviously cooled down, and then it'd heat up and cool down. So it was on and off quite a bit, and it probably took a good half an hour of doing that before it settled down to a kind of a rhythm that was okay to sleep with. So it was a bit noisy and not quite set up 100% the first night we used it. Now I've looked into sorting this issue out. Now you can buy an external thermometer. Now I'm all for buying the manufacturer's equipment. I do like quite supporting companies that innovate. Half the reason why I did buy the eberspacher in the end, although it was second hand, so it's not really given to the company, but you get the point I'm making. But the external thermometer that they sell is outrageously priced. Now I looked into it, and you're looking anywhere from about 65 to 80 pounds to get that sensor. Now it's simply put basically a thermometer. It's just basically a variable resistor that adjusts from the temperature. So it's a really cheap component, and you're basically paying all that money to have a little tiny plastic box on the end with a bit of wiring. So it's outrageous, really. So I'm going to tell you today how to fit a cheaper alternative. Now there's two ways you can do this. You can buy the wiring yourself, or if you have the wiring, you can literally just buy the chip itself, the thermometer or the thermistor itself, or you can spend a bit more and get one that's kind of designed to go into like a fridge area or something like that, probably an industrial or commercial use, which comes with like a crimped metal end and the wiring. Now that's what I went for in the end. The general little chip on its own, you can get those as cheap as about £1.10 off eBay. That's how crazy outrageous the eberspacher is selling these thermometers for that price for. And you can get a bit of a cable for not very much. It doesn't have to be any high grade cable. Speaker wire would be absolutely fine. So basically you're paying mainly to have them produce it for you, put a little plastic box on it, and obviously make a massive profit margin off it. You're not really getting any better quality. What I decided to do there is I spent a bit more. I spent a whole £4, including postage, and I got this sent over from Holland, which is the thermometer on the end, which is not exposing very well. There you go, with a crimped metal end, and with 2 meters of cable. Now what you need is, if you Google or go on eBay and you type in, it's KTY81210. I'll put a link up in the description. It probably will be an Amazon one, so don't shoot me. I'll probably well make it a referral link, but if you want to go on there and check it out anyway, or if not, if you want to search yourself, that's the code you need. Now basically all it is it's a standard thermometer, but the code kind of sets the standard or the kind of range and the different values it will read, which is what the eberspacher uses. So I've got the sensor ready, I've tested it, put a variable resistor on it, put my I put a multimeter on it. I've tested it out. I know that at 0 degrees, because when you buy these they come with a chart, so you can kind of test them, so you know what values they run at. I know that at 0 degrees it should be 1630 ohms, I think. I put a bottle of milk on it that came out the fridge, so it's probably going to be 5 degrees, and it got to about 1722, so that's going to be about 6 degrees, so that's about right. I put it in a boiling kettle, it just stopped boiling, and it went to 3.2 kilo ohms, so, or 3,200 ohms, so that is a range probably going to give you about 98, 97 degrees. So I know that it's working, I know that it's running in its right range. So all I do is need to fit it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it back in the cab here, quite high up. Heat rises, so if you put it quite high up, it's probably going to be slightly cooler when you sleep, but it means when you get up in the middle of the night you're not going to have a head that's on fire from the heat. Just going to stick it somewhere loose up on the top, run it back down. So simple to wire in. It's got 2 wires. It doesn't matter what wire you use because it's not polarity conscious. And if you look at the connector, I know when I go to fit it, if I find out it's wrong, I will update this video with annotations and things. As far as I'm aware, you put 1 wire onto a grey lead, which is down on the multi-plug by the heater, and you put the other wire onto a brown/white, so that's a brown wire with a white line down through the middle. On the other one, it doesn't matter which way around they are, like I said, it's not polarity conscious. You run the temperature gauge wherever the 2 meters will reach to. Probably put it on this unit you can't see here, but where I have the my books and glasses and a few things stored on. Can kind of tuck it around the back so you can't see it, and then that should mean that when we get the van up to temperature, it will keep a constant temperature. Lowest setting that heater will go on, which means it's going to use less fuel, it's going to be quieter, and just overall run better without it going on and off. So it's just a quick vlog, a lot of talking, a lot of chatting. Heater's great, but it does need to be set up better than just having the air coming on the front there. It doesn't run particularly well in this instance like it. Good evening, it's a few days later from when I spoke to you about what I was going to do with the remote thermostat. I've actually been working on the van for about an hour this evening after work, just to finish off that cable to put it in. Quite simple. Right down by the connector I had a grey wire, which was going from the main connector around to the diagnostic connector, not really going anywhere. I've cut that out, joined it onto 1 wire of this sensor. The other wire has gone onto the brown and white down there, which is the wire which also goes to the timer here. Now I didn't cut that wire in half. I used a Scotch lock. Now, I'm not a massive fan of Scotch locks, but I did have to extend that cable, and Scotch locks normally work quite well on solid core, and because I had to extend the cable for the sensor, I did use solid core to extend it. So I think it's going to make off, not be too bad down there. It's about 9:30 now. I can't be able to get the soldering iron out and do a 100% brilliant job on it, so it's just gone a Scotch log. It's not crucial to the van. I know where it is if I need to work on it in future, and they're normally quite bad if they don't get much vibration, those connectors. So all I've done is I've joined it in there. I run it behind the kitchen, and the other end now is loose here. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to run it up inside it's meant to be a wine rack, but we just use it for books, cables and a few glasses. I'm going to run this other end of the sensor up inside here so it's out of view. Just have it on the inside ledge here, high up, to just to get some of the better temperature reading. It's going to be quite high up then, work it out, it should work quite nicely. I want to get this video done tonight because I've got a few things arriving for the van over the next day or so. I've got an electric window kit which I want to try and have a look at on the weekend to fit, and I've also got to look at the alternator pulley, which is playing up in the van. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a quick test. It's not going to be very scientific, but it's just going to tell me whether it is now using this as a sensor or whether it's using the one that's back down there. And all I'm going to do is I'm firing up the heater. It's just doing its pre-warm up stage and test and all that. When it fires up, I'm just going to literally hold the sensor on my hand. The human body's, I can't remember, somewhere 37 is it or something degrees. Should be able to get around about 30 degrees coming out of my hands. If the heater cuts right down, goes quiet, we know it's working. So I'm just going to give it a minute to fire up, keep on running, and I'll come back to you shortly, and we'll just see if we can get it to cut back down where I'm holding this sensor. Right, I've put the heater up to 6 bars now, and I'm holding the temperature sensor on the window. It's probably about 5-6 degrees outside today, or this evening. It's really firing up. It's quite cold when I'm holding it now. I'm just going to see if I can get it to cool down quite quickly. They do seem to be quite delayed, these heaters, which is understandable because they do have a big flame in there and they can't just switch it on and off. But I'm holding it now, and I'm hoping as it warms up, and it does sound like it's getting quieter, I'm hoping that it is going to kind of ramp right down, get quieter, and almost kind of shut down with the kind of temperature my hands are giving off. By the looking into it, I think these vary the temperature between 10 and 30 degrees. I think that's their working range. So this should almost be going quiet with my hands on this on the setting of 6. Definitely getting quieter so far. Obviously it can't just shut itself right down because it will overheat with all the burning that's going on. It has to kind of slowly ramp itself down, but it is slowly getting quieter. So it does look like it's working. I'm just going to see how it goes. So yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend it. It's cost me £6 altogether. Obviously I had the connectors and a bit of cable left lying around anyway. I've only had to extend it by about probably 2 foot or something like that. All the expense was in this, the remote sensor really. Yeah, it's still getting quieter now, you can probably hear it. It was meant to be a quick video, I've probably done a lot of chatting in it. I hope you found it useful, and if you have problems with your heater going loud and quiet and loud and quiet, or you know, just not being very stable with the temperature, I'd highly recommend buying one of these cables. Check the descriptions for the links. I'll try and put them in there so you can buy the one I've got if you want, or just the chip itself. And yeah, let me know how you get on in the comments. If you've liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Hopefully it will save you a bit of money over the genuine ones, and yeah, hope you enjoy fitting it. It's kind of cut right down now, you can barely hear it, so I'm pretty sure it's working well. Happy with that, and I'll catch up with you on the next vlog in the future.